We're back for another installment of Happy Birthday, and this time we're going to add a bass line to our chords. So let me give you an example of what we're shooting for and how it'll end up for you, hopefully. Here we go. And then if we add a little pedal, we have this. Well, let's take a look at the bass and see what that does independent of the right hand. So we're going to begin on this C, which is 2 C's below middle C. It's also called Great C. It's really down there on the keyboard. It's actually the second to the last C on the keyboard on the bass end. Okay, so we're going to begin there and with the pinky, and then come up to the G with our thumb. And we're going to stay there and play that thumb again now. And return to the C. Now, we're going to play the E with our middle finger, and then the F with our second finger, and then this D with the fourth finger, and then this G again, and now a low G. That's the lowest G on the piano, and come up to your third finger on C. Now, I don't know if you caught it, but I played a chord in that mix that you might not be familiar with. And it was what's called a D minor 7th chord. That's this. So in my right hand, I have an A, a C, and an F, which is an F major triad, and underneath it I have a D. So if I rearranged all the notes in terms of D, I'd have D, F, A, C, and that's called the natural 2 chord in C major. That's if you're adding a 7th onto that 2 chord. But it adds a lot of color. Instead of having, we have this. See, it's actually more powerful to go from 2 to 5 and then 5 to 1, because you have a circular progression happening there of 2, 5, 1. And if you'd like to get more experience playing progressions in different keys, please go to Unit 5. And in Lesson 3, this is covered in great depth, the 2 minor 7th chord, and you get to play it, which is nice. So we want to practice this now in a controlled fashion, and just want to say, I've never spoken about child prodigies before, but everyone I've ever seen on YouTube or TV have perfect rhythm. It's unbelievable. Doesn't matter how old they are, their foot's tapping there and they're playing perfectly in time. And that's what separates, that's a really key element that separates prodigies from regular folk. So how are we going to put the hands together? And the answer is always slowly and deliberately. If you can, try to get into the habit of playing 3 times slower than eventually you want to play. I know it's difficult, you just want to sit down and play, but the way to get there is by playing slowly and deliberately. So we'll start off just playing these 4 notes together, the C in the bass and the first chord in the right hand. Just get a feel for how that sounds and what it feels like to synchronize all 4 of those notes. And then come up and then practice those 4 notes, the G, D, G, B. And come down on them at the exact same time and let your wrist just float up. Okay, here comes a more difficult one. This one might be a big stretch for you. So you have G here and then a B, D, A. So practice those so that they all sound together. And then come down. And this is going to be by itself. We're not going to play this G again here. And then go back to the C in the bass and this first inversion triad up here in the right hand. And just every time you play notes exactly together, it's a finger exercise. Try to flatten your fingers out. They move from here, from this knuckle. Okay, they come up and they come down and then follow through. See that? Okay, we go on now. So practice that maneuver. We're going to connect to this, right? To these 2 notes, and then we're going to put the E in the bass with the 3rd finger. Then pick up. And now we're putting this G chord over this F. This is eventually going to be our subdominant chord, which is F, the 4 chord in the key of C. Let's do that again. Here's the E down here, chord, chord, G over F, and resolve it. And now we have our D minor 7th. Now here you can see what I was talking about. We have the D, we have an F, an A, and a C. So there's your F triad. But if we put a D underneath, we have a D minor 7th, okay? So practice that, get used to hearing that. And then come to second inversion here, G in the bass, the whole thing's second inversion. If there's a G in the bass down here, it doesn't matter what inversion you have up here. It's still considered second inversion because you're hearing this instead of this. And then come down to the first inversion and then get these together, practice that. Coming down exactly at the same time with all 4 notes floating up my wrist, and then we're done. So I would recommend putting the metronome on, and it's on 120, and we'll just approach it slowly like we did in lesson 1. So we have this 1 and 2 and 3. And I have problems doing that. It's just, I just have never heard Happy Birthday played that slowly, number one. And it just takes an incredible amount of patience to do that and control. So if you can pull that off, it's much easier to play at a faster tempo then. Plus, your fingers get a chance to develop because you're playing slow enough so that they can play correctly. All right, now I put the metronome up to 176, so it's approaching what we normally hear as Happy Birthday, I think. Let's take a listen. 1, 2. That's much better. And the tendency is going to be to try to connect these chords because the melody is connected, but don't fall into that trap. The more separation you can have between the chords, the better off you'll be, because each chord is a separate physical event, okay? And if you treat it that way, the fingers get more of an opportunity to move and to synchronize together. And now I'm doing something very different with the metronome. I'm going to put it on 80, but one tick is going to represent 3 beats. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 1, 2. Now it sounds right. And then once we've mastered that and feel comfortable doing that, well, we still have these spaces now between the chords, so we can cover them up with a little bit of pedal, which I hate recommending, by the way, because it can be a trap. Okay, you end up playing the pedal instead of the piano. But anyway, let's listen to it anyway. 1 and a 2 and a. And there you have it. Happy Birthday with chords in the right hand and a nice little bass line in the left hand. So work on that, and I plan to do this in 2 other keys, in F major and in G major. And it's a great thing to do because you really get to know your way around the keyboard when you take a simple melody like this and play it in different keys. It's like taking a simple phrase and saying it in English, then saying it in Spanish, then saying it in Italian or something like that. Each key area is like a different language, actually, that you have to adjust to. All right, so with that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.